Okay, Larry, let's bring you back in. A friend of the show, Larry. They presented me with this. It said Larry Klayman suing China. I said, let's get him on, number one. And number two, Larry, how do I join your lawsuit? I want to sue China with you.
Well, you can go to freedomwatchusa.org, freedomwatchusa.org. We've already got nearly 1,000 plaintiffs. It's going to grow. It's a lawsuit that I filed in Texas, a relatively conservative court, and we're asking for $20 trillion plus in damages for everything that's been done to the U.S., Eric. Why should the American taxpayer have to pay for this? This has already bankrupted our country. It's put us into a system of socialism where people are going to become dependent on the government dole. And our kids and grandchildren will be living in abject poverty. So the communist Chinese need to pay. It's not enough just to call it the Chinese virus. I'm sure you agree. We have to take action.
Oh, not only do I agree, I wrote a monologue about it and agree with you that they need to pay. They owe us trillions upon trillions. I'm not, and we'll talk about whether there's legal standing to be able to do this. But as far back, Washington Post this week published an article that stated as far back as 2014, it was noticed that China was developing. There's actually amplifying the contagion and the contagiousness of this virus, and also the death rate of the virus. I mean, this is worse than negligent. It might be bioterror. How do we distinguish this from a military response to a legal response? Larry, should it be military or legal or both?
Well, it should be both in some respects, but let's deal with the legal response first. Is that there is no immunity. You suggested that because this is contrary to the Geneva Conventions and also the World Health Organization regulations. So they violated international conventions. China loses its immunity. When we get a jury verdict, and I'm confident this will go to a jury trial, there are hundreds of billions of dollars of Chinese assets invested in U.S. banks and securities, certificates of deposit and otherwise, and we can attach that. And one thing the president should be doing now, as we did with Iran, is freezing all of Chinese assets in this country so the American people can collect. Now, we've also filed a criminal complaint at the International Criminal Court. And although the United States and China are not signatories, that doesn't matter. The criminal court has worldwide jurisdiction. Years ago, they indicted, prosecuted, and convicted General Pinochet in Chile, who was the leader of Chile, and he would have gone to prison but for the fact that he died. And within 24 hours of my filing this complaint, I got a response from the International Criminal Court saying, we're processing your complaint. I've asked for an investigation. I asked that the Chinese leadership be indicted, tried, and convicted.
Right. So Larry, what happens in this? And my concern is it's one of this has happened before where we'll bring a lawsuit against a country or a group. You win the lawsuit, but since there's no standing and there's no grounds for it, it's not the right venue, that they go, okay, I agree with you that creating some sort of public awareness program that China owes us money and they're doing things that probably most of the public doesn't realize they're doing will have a great effect. But is there actual legal standing to get some restitution from China?
There is. We've all been damaged, not by contracting the virus, then because of the damage to our lives in terms of our health and our work, losing jobs, losing businesses. The lead plaintiff in Dallas, Texas, is a photo shop named Buzz Photos.
How do we get them to pay?
Because the money has been invested. Chinese investment, hundreds of billions of dollars. It can be attached. In fact, with the litigation against Iran over the years before Obama released everything back to Iran, their assets were being attached and collection was occurring in this country for cases that were brought against the regime. So there's precedent. Now we need and pray that we have a judge that'll let this case go forward. And I believe that he or she will, because this is something that touches both liberals and conservatives and moderates. Everybody is affected. And this is not a question of Larry Klayman being a conservative or Freedom Watch or Eric Bolling or anybody. It's a question of our survival. And there's no reason why the American people need to pay for this. The president.
Right.
War. That was a really good point. Well, it's time that this president also instruct his attorney general, who's done virtually nothing, in bringing anyone to justice here on the various witch hunts and impeachments and everything else, they should be joining Freedom Watch in this
Thank
case.
you we have a lot of these issues, and give us a break, folks. It's Skype. It's difficult. We're trying to separate distance. Larry Klayman, Freedom Watch. Just for the record, Larry, I think you're on the right case. You're on the right track, and I think there are a lot of our fans, people who watch this show across the country, agree with you. This isn't right, left. This isn't political. This is us versus them. America needs to be paid back from China. Larry Klayman, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. God bless you. Stay safe.